Before we move forward, we must establish continuity, because this episode is not standalone. It is a continuation of a psychological journey that has already begun. Up to this point, 3 critical beliefs have already been broken. 1. Money is not primarily an income problem. You were shown that financial stagnation is not simply about how much you earn, but about how you think, decide, and structure. 2. Your financial life is not entirely self-created. In episode 1, you confronted the reality that your family has never produced a millionaire, not because of a lack of effort, but because of an inherited identity, a way of thinking, repeated across generations. 3. You are operating inside an unspoken agreement. In episode 2, you were introduced to the hidden contract, the expectations, the obligations, the silent rules about money, giving, responsibility, and loyalty. You began to see that many of your financial decisions are not conscious choices. They are compliance. At this point in the journey, a new identity has begun to form. You are no longer just a participant in your financial reality. You are becoming an observer of it. You are beginning to separate what is yours from what was inherited. This is critical, because the viewer is no longer comfortable. They are more aware, slightly unsettled, questioning long-held assumptions, beginning to feel internal resistance. There is tension now. A quiet realization that something I have always believed may not be true. And this is where this episode becomes necessary, because once someone sees the agreement, the next logical question is, if I have been acting unconsciously, what beliefs are driving those actions? And more specifically, is the one belief I trust the most actually the one holding me back? There is one belief that has survived everything so far. It has not been questioned. It has not been challenged. In fact, it has reinforced your entire life, respected, praised, defended. That belief is simple. If I work hard, I will become wealthy. This episode exists to examine that belief. Not emotionally, not aggressively, but structurally. Because if that belief is incomplete or misunderstood, then decades of effort can be invested without ever producing wealth. So this episode is not about discouraging effort. It is about redefining it. It is about understanding why effort alone has never produced wealth in your family, and what must replace it if you are going to become the first. Have you ever asked yourself why the hardest working people in your family never became wealthy? Pause. Not lazy people, not careless people. The ones who woke up early, carried responsibility, sacrificed consistently, and yet, wealth never came. Pause. So the question becomes uncomfortable. If hard work has always been present, why has wealth always been absent? In this episode, you will begin to understand something that is rarely explained clearly, but quietly determines the financial outcome of entire families. You will understand why effort alone has never created lasting wealth, not because effort is wrong, but because it has been misapplied. The structural difference between people who work hard and remain in the same position, and those who build systems that grow beyond their labor. And more importantly, how to begin shifting from a life powered by effort to a life designed with structure, because this is where many people become confused. They believe the solution is to increase effort, work longer hours, take on more responsibility, push harder. But if the underlying system does not change, more effort simply reinforces the same outcome. In this episode, we are not rejecting hard work. We are placing it in its correct position. You will begin to see where effort is necessary, where effort becomes limiting, and what must exist beyond effort. If wealth is ever going to accumulate, by the end of this episode, you should be able to look at your current approach to money and identify whether you are building something that can grow, or simply maintaining something that requires constant effort to survive. Because the goal is not to work harder. The goal is to stop depending on work as the only path to wealth. Have you ever noticed how effort is one of the most respected values in your family, and yet it has never translated into wealth? Pause. From a young age, you were taught directly or indirectly that working hard is the solution. Work hard in school. Work hard at your job. Work hard to support others. Effort was not optional. It was expected, and over time, it became part of your identity. But now, a deeper question begins to emerge. Not just, am I working hard? But what exactly is my hard work building? Pause. Is it building assets? Or is it only sustaining responsibilities? Because there is a difference. A significant difference. One creates long-term freedom. The other creates continuous obligation. And if you look carefully, you may begin to see a pattern. Effort is always present, but progress feels limited. Income may increase, but pressure increases with it. Responsibilities expand as quickly as earnings do. So here is the second question, the one most people avoid. If your level of effort increases every year, why does your financial position not change at the same rate? Pause. This is where discomfort begins. Because if effort is not the missing piece, then something deeper must be, and that realization creates tension, because it challenges something you have trusted for a long time. So before we go further, I want you to sit with this quietly. Are you building something that can grow without you? Or are you maintaining something that depends entirely on your continued effort? Pause. Do not answer quickly, because the answer to that question will determine whether your current path leads to wealth, or simply a lifetime of sustained effort. Before we go deeper, we need to make this practical, not theoretical, because it is easy to agree with ideas, but difficult to see where you actually stand. So take a moment, be honest with yourself. No one else needs to hear your answer. Which of these best describes your current financial behavior? Effort-based survival. You work consistently, you earn income, but most of what you earn is immediately allocated to responsibilities, bills, family support, daily expenses. At the end of each month, there is little or nothing left to build with. Your effort sustains life, but does not expand it. B. Income growth without structural change. You are increasing your income gradually. You may have improved your earnings over time, but your lifestyle and obligations have also increased. So even though you earn more, your financial position feels largely the same. You are moving, but not progressing. C. Controlled discipline without leverage. You save. You try to be intentional. You may avoid unnecessary spending, but your money is mostly static. It is not structured into systems that multiply, so growth is slow and dependent on continued effort. D. Early structural awareness. You have started thinking differently. You are beginning to question how money flows, not just how it is earned. You are exploring ways to make your income work beyond your direct effort. You may not be fully structured yet, but you are no longer thinking only in terms of earning and spending. Now choose quietly. Do not overthink it. Just identify where you are right now. Because each of these positions represents a different stage of financial identity. Not a judgment, a position. And here is what matters. Most families remain in A or B for generations. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack discipline, but because the system they operate within is built entirely around effort. So as we continue, keep your answer in mind. Because everything we are about to explore will show you why that position exists, and what it will take to move beyond it. To understand why effort has not produced wealth in your family, you have to step back, not emotionally, but historically. Because your family did not randomly choose effort as a strategy, it was shaped by necessity. For previous generations, the primary objective was not wealth. It was survival. Access was limited. Opportunities were constrained. Economic systems were not designed for widespread ownership. Stability, not expansion, was the goal. So the most reliable path available was simple: work hard, earn consistently, take care of responsibilities. That approach made sense. It created structure in an uncertain environment. It ensured continuity. It allowed families to endure. But there is something important you must recognize. A system designed for survival is not automatically a system designed for wealth. Survival systems are built around consistency, security, obligation, immediate needs. Wealth systems are built around ownership, leverage, delayed outcomes, strategic allocation. These are not the same, and they do not produce the same results. So when a family continues to operate with a survival-based model, even in a different economic environment, they carry forward behaviors that were once necessary, but are no longer sufficient. This is not failure, it is continuity. And this is where the confusion begins, because effort still works, but it works differently depending on the system it is applied to. In a survival system, effort maintains stability. In a wealth system, effort builds and expands structures. So if effort is applied inside a system that only sustains life, it will continue to produce the same outcome: stability without growth. This is why many people feel they are doing everything right. And yet, nothing changes. They are applying effort correctly, but within the wrong framework. And unless the framework changes, effort will not solve the problem. It will only reinforce it. So the real shift is not from laziness to hard work. That shift has already happened. The real shift is from effort within survival to effort within structure. Because without structure, effort has no direction. And without direction, even consistent effort cannot accumulate into wealth. This is the transition your generation must make. Not because the previous generation was wrong, but because the environment has changed. You are no longer limited to earning alone. You now have access to information, tools, systems, markets. But access alone is not enough. You must think differently. You must structure differently. You must decide differently. Because if you bring a survival identity into an environment that rewards structure, you will remain active, but not advancing. And that is the quiet trap many people are in. They are working hard, but inside a system that cannot produce wealth. Now, I want you to pause for a moment, not to analyze everything at once, but to look at something specific. When you make financial decisions, are they intentional? Or are they automatic? Pause, think about the last few times money left your hands. Not just what you spent, but why you spent it. Was it planned? Was it aligned with something you are building? Or did it feel expected by your environment, expected by your responsibilities, expected by people around you? Because this is where identity quietly reveals itself. Not in what you say you want, but in what you consistently do. You may say you want wealth, but if your decisions are driven by immediate pressure, emotional obligation, social expectations, then your behavior is not aligned with wealth building. It is aligned with maintenance. And maintenance is subtle. It does not look like failure. It looks like responsibility. You are paying bills. You are supporting others. You are doing what is required, and because of that, it feels correct. But here is the deeper layer most people do not examine. Are your financial decisions creating future capacity? Or are they only resolving present demands? Pause, because there is a difference between solving today and building tomorrow. And many people spend years, sometimes decades, perfectly solving today, but tomorrow never expands. So I want you to reflect honestly. When money comes to you, does it immediately have somewhere to go? Or does it have somewhere to grow? Do you direct your money? Or does your environment direct it for you? Because if your financial behavior is mostly reactive, then your results will also be reactive. And this is not about judgment, it is about awareness. Because once you see this clearly, you begin to understand something important. Effort alone is not guiding your financial life, your patterns are. And if those patterns are not examined, they will continue to operate, even as your income increases. So before we go further, hold this question with you. Are you in control of your financial decisions? Or are you consistently responding to expectations you never defined? Pause, because the answer to that question will begin to show you whether you are building a future or simply maintaining the present. Now that you've reflected on whether your financial decisions are intentional or automatic, it's time to confront the emotional reality that most people avoid. The truth is, your family, your culture, your upbringing, even your closest relationships often unintentionally keep you locked in patterns that limit wealth. It's not malice, it's structure, tradition, expectation. Think about it, the pressure to give beyond your means, the subtle guilt when you choose yourself over the collective, the shame that whispers when you dare to prioritize growth. These are invisible forces. They are the silent architects of financial stagnation. And here's the hardest part. You love the people who created these pressures. You are loyal to their expectations. You don't want to stand out or break harmony. But here is the reality. Loyalty without boundaries becomes self-sabotage. Sacrifice without structure becomes invisibility. Effort without design becomes exhaustion. This is the silent emotional tax that keeps families financially stuck. You have been taught to work hard, to endure, to give, to obey. And on the surface, This feels virtuous. But beneath that surface, it produces no generational shift. No meaningful wealth, no freedom. Pause and ask yourself, which of your sacrifices are truly for your future? And which are simply fulfilling the story you never consciously chose? Because the first millionaire in your family understands this distinction. You cannot build generational wealth while being unconsciously loyal to obligations that were never designed for your growth. It's time to confront the truth. Your emotional patterns are just as powerful, if not more, than your income. Change begins when awareness meets courage. After understanding the emotional forces that silently govern your financial behavior, here comes the central question you cannot ignore. Why do most hardworking people never become wealthy, even when they give everything they have? Pause. Let that sink in. You've seen the effort. You've seen the loyalty. You've seen the long hours and constant sacrifice. Yet, wealth rarely follows. Why? Because effort alone is a story, not a system. Hard work without structure, without intentional financial design, is like rowing a boat without a rudder. You expend energy, but the current determines your destination. Consider this. Two people start with the same income, same hours, same work ethic. One remains in a pattern of obedience, emotional loyalty, and unexamined financial habits. The other questions the rules, maps a new path, and aligns effort with strategy. In 10 years, the results are not just different, they are worlds apart. This is not hypothetical. This is structural, psychological, identity-based, and it's the core of what episode 3 will teach: how your inherited beliefs about effort and wealth quietly limit you, why repeating the patterns of your family never leads to the first millionaire, how to align work, identity, and system to actually produce generational wealth. Here is the critical point. If you continue to follow the old patterns of work and obedience without understanding the invisible architecture that governs them, nothing changes no matter how hard you try. So the question lingers: how do you break the cycle, align effort with structure, and finally build wealth that lasts? This episode is designed to answer that question fully. Before we dive into the strategic frameworks, let's anchor this in the ultimate reference for this series. The full blueprint for breaking these patterns is structured in the first millionaire in your family. Every principle, every model, every step in this series is drawn from the architecture in the book. Watching the series alone gives insight. Reading the book gives transformation. To become the first millionaire in your family, the series is your foundation. The book is your roadmap. To truly understand why working hard has never made anyone in your family wealthy, we need to step beyond the surface of effort. Hard work in isolation is almost always a story of survival, not a strategy for wealth. It is the default mode of families that have never had a millionaire, because effort without system does not create financial architecture. It creates exhaustion, stress, and invisible chains that perpetuate scarcity. Here is what the first millionaire understands that most people never see. Wealth is not the product of effort. Wealth is the product of intentional identity, structured thinking, and aligned systems. Every long day, every late night, every extra shift, every sacrifice you have made may have produced something: respect, stability, a paycheck. But it rarely produces generational transformation. Why? Because your energy was applied to structures that were designed for survival, not for building lasting wealth. Consider a common story. Imagine a young man named Daniel, raised in a family where every adult believed that working harder than everyone else would eventually lead to wealth. He inherited the silent agreement: if you work harder, you will succeed. Daniel excelled in school. He took on extra responsibilities at work. He helped family members financially whenever asked. But no matter how hard he tried, he never accumulated wealth. At 30, he realized he was living the blueprint of the previous generation, a blueprint built on obedience, effort, and emotional loyalty, not on systems, leverage, and capital alignment. Daniel's story is not unique. It mirrors the lives of countless people who inherit a mental framework where success is measured in effort, not results. The emotional friction comes when you wake up one day and ask yourself, why am I exhausted, yet financially stagnant? Why does my family struggle despite our hard work? Why do I feel trapped in a cycle I didn't consciously choose? This is the moment of awakening, the friction that the first millionaire uses as fuel. Effort without structure is like water poured into a cracked bucket. The energy is real, the desire is genuine, but the system, the bucket, leaks everything away. Think about it. Your family's survival-focused blueprint rewards obedience, compliance, and short-term problem-solving. Your effort feeds these structures, sustaining stability but never creating generational wealth. The first millionaire sees this gap and chooses to work differently, not harder, but smarter. Mathematically, it's simple. If you work 60 hours a week for 20 years in a survival model, your total earned income might reach $1 to $2 million. If you work 40 hours a week but combine your effort with systemized investments, leverage, and identity alignment, your net worth can multiply exponentially: $10, $50, even $100 million over the same period. The difference is not effort, it's structure. This principle is not just strategic, it is psychological. To break the cycle, you must see yourself differently. You must adopt an identity that operates above the inherited survival blueprint. Ask yourself, are you working hard because of habit or because of strategy? Are you obeying family norms because of loyalty or because of intention? Are you expending energy to maintain status quo or to build legacy? The first millionaire answers these questions with clarity. They realize that their effort must serve a structure they control, not a system imposed on them by inheritance, tradition, or unexamined belief. For this episode, we define a framework called the first framework. It has 3 pillars. 1. Intentional identity. You must consciously define yourself as the architect of your financial reality. Effort without identity alignment produces motion, not transformation. 2. Aligned systems. Your effort must flow through repeatable, scalable systems. Examples include automated investment, structured capital allocation, and business frameworks that multiply input without proportional additional effort. Generational thinking. Wealth is measured not in annual income, but in durable impact across generations. Every decision must consider whether it sustains, multiplies, or erodes legacy capital. When Daniel applied the first framework, his hours of work transformed from frantic survival to structured productivity. Every dollar, every task, every effort became purposeful, aligned with a long-term vision rather than short-term survival. Take Warren Buffett, for example. From the start, he did not work harder than others, he worked strategically. He aligned his effort with systems that multiplied his capital. His identity was that of a capital architect, not a laborer. The emotional friction here is immense. Many people labor thinking wealth comes from effort alone. The first millionaire feels the tension of this truth deeply. They see the generations trapped by obedience and effort without structure, and they make a conscious choice to break it. Here is the insight that shifts everything. Most people believe, if I work hard enough, I will become wealthy. But the first millionaire understands, effort without structure produces exhaustion. Wealth is created by identity, systems, and alignment with generational vision. This is your belief flip. It is uncomfortable because it challenges everything you've been taught about work, effort, and loyalty. Imagine two paths over 20 years. Path: a survival model. Work 60 hours, week, save 10% of income. No investment growth, net worth $500,000. Path B: builder model. Work 40 hours, week, leverage skills and investments aligned with the first framework, net worth $10 million plus. Same energy, different architecture. That is the power of aligning effort with identity and systems. Ask yourself, if nothing changes, where will I be in 10 years? Am I still laboring for survival, or am I building for legacy? What beliefs about work and money do I carry unconsciously from my family? Your answers will determine whether you remain trapped in inherited effort patterns, or whether you step into your role as the first millionaire in your family. From here, this episode will guide you through identifying which effort patterns are productive and which are draining. Practical steps to align every hour of work with long-term capital growth. Breaking the emotional loyalty loops that keep you stuck in the survival model. The book, The First Millionaire in Your Family, provides the full blueprint for this work. Watching this episode gives insight, reading the book gives transformation. To truly grasp the principle that effort without structure leads to stagnation, it is necessary to step into the life of someone who embodies the struggle, the tension, and ultimately the transformation that the first millionaire understands. This is where theory becomes lived experience, where abstract concepts meet the emotional realities of inherited financial identity. Daniel's emotional struggle from his story mirrors the early life experiences of many high-value wealth builders. Let us examine a few examples. 1. Aliko Dangote. Before becoming Africa's richest man, Dangote grew up in a family that valued hard work, but he understood early that success required systems and strategic vision. He didn't just work harder. He built structures that could multiply effort into wealth. 2. Warren Buffett. Buffett's story begins not with long hours of labor but with disciplined, early strategic investments. His identity as a capital architect allowed him to focus on leverage, compounding, and long-term growth instead of short-term effort. 3. Oprah Winfrey. She worked hard, undoubtedly, but her identity as a creator and influencer of systems, media, brand, and reach allowed her to convert effort into multi-generational wealth. Each of these figures demonstrates a core truth: effort is not wealth. Identity aligned with systems is wealth. To make this actionable, we create a case study called the first archetype, which identifies 3 critical stages of inherited effort and transformation. 1. Stage 1, the effort trap, characterized by overwork, loyalty-driven giving, and emotional exhaustion. The individual believes, if I just work harder, everything will be fine. The invisible consequence, time, energy, and potential are siphoned off by systems not designed for generational wealth. 2. Stage 2, the emotional awakening, triggered by deep emotional friction, moments like Daniel's rainy evening crisis. The individual begins to question inherited beliefs about money, loyalty, and effort. The realization emerges: I am trapped in a system not of my making. 3. Stage 3, identity and structural shift. The individual consciously adopts the first framework, aligning identity with structure, systems, and generational thinking. Effort is redirected through repeatable, scalable processes, investments, business models, capital leverage. Emotional energy previously spent on guilt, family pressure, and survival-focused labor is now channeled toward creating lasting wealth and a legacy blueprint. It is 11:30 p.m. Daniel's apartment is silent except for the rain tapping against the window. Bills lie in a neat stack, but their total overwhelms him. He reflects on his family, his parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, all hard-working people, all trapped in cycles of effort without liberation. Daniel whispered, I have inherited a story, not wealth, a blueprint, not freedom. Every night I work, I honor it, but I do not escape it. Now, ask yourself, which stage are you in right now? Are you trapped in stage 1, overworking but accumulating nothing? Have you experienced your own stage 2 moment of emotional friction, the late nights, the frustration, the realization that your effort is not producing freedom? Or are you ready to step into stage 3 and align your identity with generational systems? This is where the series intersects with the book, The First Millionaire in Your Family. The book is not just another motivational book or story, it is the blueprint for stage 3 transformation. It shows exactly how to redirect effort into structured wealth creation and escape the inherited cycle. Here is the crucial proof: individuals who transition from stage 1 to stage 3 do not just improve their finances, they reshape their identity, influence their family, and create frameworks that outlast a lifetime. Daniel begins automating investments. He aligns work with scalable skill sets. He begins separating family obligation from personal strategy. Within 5 years, he moves from overworked survival to strategic creation, building capital that compounds rather than depletes. Notice the difference. The same hours, different outcomes, because identity and systems determine leverage. At this point, the viewer experiences a critical psychological shift. They see that 1. Effort alone will never free them. 2. The inherited blueprint is not fated as conscious, and it can be rewritten. 3. Identity alignment with systemized wealth creation is the path to becoming the first millionaire in their family. The emotional engagement is powerful: empathy with Daniel, recognition of their own struggle, and aspiration to break free. Next, we move the viewer to practical steps. How do you move from recognition to action? How do you rewrite the inherited agreement and redirect effort towards structural wealth creation? Evaluate which activities produce leverage versus mere output. Begin automated systems for capital growth. Separate loyalty-driven giving from intentional contribution aligned with your legacy. Begin a personal record of every financial behavior driven by unconscious agreement. The book, The First Millionaire in Your Family, offers the full tactical blueprint. Watching the series gives insight. But reading the book gives transformation. It is your roadmap to stage 3. Before we go further, consider this deeply personal question. How much of my effort is truly my own, and how much is a legacy I inherited without choice? He whispers to himself, I will not just work, I will build. I will not just survive. I will create a legacy. I will be the first. He points to understand, effort alone is insufficient to create generational wealth. Emotional friction, stage 2, is the trigger for identity awakening. The Daniel archetype illustrates the transition from inherited survival patterns to intentional wealth creation. Real-life wealth builders demonstrate that identity and systems, not ours, determine long-term success. The book The First Millionaire in Your Family provides the tactical blueprint for stage 3 transformation. To truly internalize the lesson that effort without structure leads to stagnation, we need to quantify it. Numbers have a way of removing excuses. They expose patterns, realities, and consequences. In this section, we will explore the survival model versus the builder model, showing how the same effort produces dramatically different outcomes depending on identity alignment and strategy. The survival model, where most families live. The survival model represents the majority of people raised in families like Daniel's. These are households where hard work is a virtue, not a strategy. Every hour is traded directly for income. Obligations, loyalty, and social pressure dictate financial behavior. Let's break it down numerically for clarity. Imagine a young professional, like Daniel at age 25, earning $2,000 per month. He works 60 hours per week, giving everything he can to bills, family obligations, and emergency expenses. Monthly income, $2,000. Family obligations, $500. Lifestyle expenses, $1,200. Remaining savings, $300. At first glance, $300 may seem like a buffer. But now consider lost opportunity costs. The $500 given to family without strategic leverage could have been invested. The 60 hours per week spent on labor could have been partially redirected towards skill building or creating scalable assets. The emotional cost of overwork reduces productivity and decision-making ability. If Daniel continues in this survival model for 10 years, assuming no raises and no strategic investments, here's what happens. Total income earned, $240,000. Total savings accumulated assuming he keeps $300 monthly. No investment growth, $36,000. Emotional burnout, high. Generational wealth created, 0. This is the reality for most families. Hard work is visible, respected, and rewarded socially, but it does not compound into generational wealth. The builder model, how the first millionaire thinks. Now let's imagine Daniel shifts his identity from survival to strategic building. He still works hard, but effort is aligned with structure, leverage, and systems. Key shifts include 1. Prioritization of scalable income streams, not just hours for dollars. 2. Automated capital deployment, investments, business growth, and recurring income channels. 3. Intentional financial design, separating loyalty-driven obligations from strategic giving. 4. Identity alignment, making choices consistent with long-term legacy, not inherited expectations. Using the same $2,000 monthly income, here's the model. Monthly income, $2,000. Strategic obligations, $200. Lifestyle expenses, $800. Investment, $1,000 allocated into compounding assets, for example stocks, businesses, or passive ventures. Assuming a conservative 12% annual return over 10 years, the outcome is total income earned, $240,000. Total invested, $120,000. Investment growth after 10 years, $378,000. Total net worth, $378,000 from compounding alone. Notice the stark difference. Survival model net worth, $36,000. Builder model net worth, $378,000. The same effort, the same income, but different results. Why? Because the builder model converts effort into leverage, uses systems to compound value, and aligns identity with wealth creation rather than obligation. Breaking down the components. 1. Time allocation. Survival model, 60 hours, week direct labor, no leverage. Builder model, 40 hours, Weak high-value work leverage through systems, passive income, and skill compounding. 2. Financial discipline, survival model, reactive spending. Giving driven by unexamined family obligations, builder model, proactive spending. Giving aligned with values and strategy, ensuring capital is preserved and compounded. 3. Identity alignment, survival model, I work hard, therefore I should be wealthy. Builder model, I build systems, invest intentionally, and create leverage. Wealth follows my structure and identity. 4. Emotional energy, survival model, high burnout, low clarity, guilt-driven decisions. Builder model, strategic focus, clear purpose, emotionally aligned with long-term goals. Numbers are not just math, they are psychological mirrors. They show exactly how inheritance of effort without identity produces stagnation, while aligned identity with systems produces freedom. Consider Daniel. By visualizing this, he realizes that his long nights and unrelenting work hours were not the problem, it was the framework guiding his work. The math confirms what he had felt emotionally, that effort alone cannot create the generational wealth he desires. For our dear viewers, this is a moment of awakening. This is where reflection deepens. If I continue in the survival model, where will I be in 10 years? If I adopt the builder model, what could be my reality by 35 or 40? The emotional tension between these two futures is the engine of identity shift. The first millionaire in your family is the core blueprint of this series. Here's the key connection. The book, The First Millionaire in Your Family, is the full numerical and structural blueprint that guides this transition. It teaches readers exactly how to identify which obligations are inherited versus intentional, allocate time and resources for high-leverage activities, create automated systems for capital deployment, align identity with structure, not survival. Watching this series gives the emotional, identity-based context. Reading the book gives the tactical roadmap. Together, they form the dual engine of transformation. Before we close this section, it is critical for our dear viewers to internalize this. If I continue working harder but without structure, how much of my potential am I leaving on the table? How much of my family's inherited effort trap am I unconsciously maintaining? What would my life look like if I began redirecting effort through the builder model starting today? This could whispers to you, this is not just money, this is leverage, this is freedom. This is the first step to becoming the first millionaire in my family. This is the power of the book, The First Millionaire in Your Family. It helps you to turn abstract identity work into tangible, measurable, and motivating reality. Keywords to every hungry, coachable, willingly and responsible first millionaire in a family. 1. Effort alone does not generate generational wealth. 2. The survival model consumes effort without producing leverage. 3. The builder model redirects effort through systems, structure, and identity alignment. 4. Simple compounding and automated strategies over 10 years produce results far exceeding raw labor. 5. The first millionaire in your family provides the tactical blueprint for implementing the builder model and escaping inherited effort traps. Pause and reflect. If nothing changes, will I be wealthy in 10 years? Think about your family, your financial habits, your daily choices, and your willingness to confront the inherited patterns that limit you. Will you still be working tirelessly but trapped in a cycle that produces survival but not freedom? Or will you step into the builder model, transforming effort into lasting wealth? Let's go deeper. I want you to visualize your own life. Morning. Are you waking up anxious about bills, obligations, and family expectations? Or waking up with a clear, purposeful plan? Work. Are you trading hours for income, exhausted, barely able to focus on growth? Or building scalable systems that produce passive streams while learning and expanding skills? Evening. Are you tired, stressed, frustrated with your lack of progress? Or reviewing progress, feeling empowered, confident, and in control of your trajectory? Throughout the episode so far, we've asked difficult questions. We've asked you to reflect on Question 1. Why do most hard-working people never become wealthy? Question 2. If your financial decisions are truly intentional or automatic. Question 3. Where you will be in 10 years if nothing changes. Now, let's answer this question, reflecting on the information we've gathered in this episode. The answer to why most hardworking people never become wealthy. Hard work alone is necessary but never sufficient. Most families operate under inherited financial agreements, silent, unspoken, almost sacred rules that dictate how much you can save versus spend, who you are obligated to support, what success looks like in terms of income rather than wealth. Effort is trapped in patterns that preserve survival, not growth. You can work 60 hours a week, earn more, and still remain financially stagnant if your identity and structure do not evolve. This is why we emphasized in earlier episodes, effort without structure leads to stagnation. The answer to are your financial decisions intentional or automatic? If your actions are guided primarily by obligation, guilt, or tradition, then they are automatic. Your inheritance shapes them. Are you giving because it aligns with your values, or because it fulfills an unspoken agreement that family comes first, even above your freedom? The first millionaire doesn't reject loyalty or family values, they align them with long-term wealth creation. The difference is consciousness. When decisions are intentional, every choice compounds toward freedom. The answer to where will you be in 10 years? By projecting the survival model versus the builder model, you can already see the truth. The survival model produces exhaustion, debt, and limited generational impact. The builder model produces freedom, leverage, and the foundation for multi-generational wealth. Your path is not determined by luck or income. It is determined by the agreements you obey, the systems you implement, and the identity you inhabit. Before we move forward, consider this deeply. If I continue to obey the unspoken agreements and patterns of my family, will I be wealthy or merely busy? And am I ready to rewrite the rules for myself and the generations that follow? Pause. Let this question sit, and get some reasoning with deep thinking. Then proceed below to comment and declare your answer for the universe to hear and grant you your desire. So let it resonate. This is the moment where awareness begins to turn into action. Having closed the open loops, answered the questions, and exposed the patterns that trap most families in financial stagnation, remember the framework we introduced earlier in this episode, the first framework. Now this becomes your compass for converting effort into lasting wealth. The first framework is not a collection of tips. It is an identity-aligned system that integrates belief, behavior, and structure. It is designed for the first millionaire in your family, the person who understands that true wealth is built on legacy, not short-term gain. Below are the core steps to follow in order to initiate this framework into your life. Step 1. Identify the hidden agreements. Every family carries silent financial contracts, obligations, unspoken rules, and inherited behaviors that dictate your spending, giving, and saving patterns. List all habitual financial decisions you make out of obligation, guilt, or expectation. Ask, which of these decisions are truly mine? Mark the ones that drain capital or limit freedom. This step is crucial because you cannot break a chain you cannot see. Awareness of these agreements is the first act of freedom. Step 2. Calculate the cost. Understanding the impact of these agreements requires numbers. Calculate the annual total of your 3 most costly obligations driven by inherited rules. Include family support, social pressures, and habitual spending that doesn't align with your values. Seeing the number physically on paper transforms abstract guilt into tangible reality. This is where psychological clarity meets financial awareness. Numbers don't lie. They reveal how much potential wealth is being consumed by invisible agreements. Step 3. Separate values from covenant compliance. Not every financial obligation is bad, some are values aligned and noble. The key is differentiation. Identify which actions reflect your authentic values. Identify which are covenant compliance patterns passed down to maintain the family identity at the expense of wealth. This is your ethical compass. You can maintain loyalty without sacrificing financial growth. Step 4. Create prior commitment. Structure is the secret to compounding effort into wealth. Before social pressure arises, automate investments, savings, retirement, and wealth-building vehicles. Decide before giving to others. Let generosity be intentional, not reactive. Prior commitment is the foundation of discipline, the bridge from awareness to action. This ensures that your capital serves you first, and your identity as a builder strengthens daily. Step 5. Restructure your internal narrative. Money is not just numbers, it is a story. Rewrite your narrative. Capital is a tool, not a burden. Replace inherited guilt with freedom-oriented belief systems. Speak to yourself as the architect of your bloodline. not merely a participant in family survival patterns. This is where identity transformation meets practical application. Without this step, even the best strategies fail. Step 6. Continuous reflection. The framework is not a checklist you complete once, it is a living, iterative process. Revisit agreements quarterly. Reassess obligations and priorities. Recalculate the cost of outdated behaviors. This is compounding awareness. Over time, every reflection aligns your effort with your ultimate goal, becoming the first millionaire in your family. By following the first framework, you 1. Identify hidden chains that restrict wealth. 2. Measure the true cost of inherited behaviors. 3. Align actions with authentic values. 4. Automate and prioritize wealth-building actions. 5. Reshape your internal identity to that of a builder, not a survivor. This is more than fine and it is identity engineering. Now that you understand the first framework, the next episodes will expand into specific behavioral tools, emotional mastery, and structural skill building. Each episode builds on this foundation, transforming you from a survival thinker into an identity-aware wealth builder. And all along, the book The First Millionaire in Your Family provides the blueprint and detailed exercises that mirror the steps in this series. Reading the book while following the episodes allows you to implement every insight immediately. Reflect on this honest question: which of my financial decisions are mine, and which are inherited? And if I continue following these silent agreements, will I ever become the first in my family to build lasting wealth? Comment below. Let your answer start the internal conversation that becomes your transformation. People believe, if I work harder, I will become wealthy. But the first millionaire understands, effort without structure, without intentional identity, leads only to stagnation. Working long hours, sacrificing sleep, and bending to every obligation may feel productive, but it rarely creates generational wealth. The invisible agreements, inherited patterns, and automatic behaviors quietly consume your time, energy, and capital. This is the emotional turning point. You realize, wealth is not about doing more, it is about thinking differently, structuring deliberately, and choosing consciously. Ask yourself, if my current approach requires more effort but produces no change, why am I still following it? This belief flip is what separates those who inherit survival from those who design legacy. It is not about doing more, it is about reprogramming the identity that drives what you do, when you do it, and why you do it. Now that you see the truth, it is time to confront yourself. If effort alone has never created wealth in my family, what does that say about every habit, every sacrifice, every long hour I've blindly followed? Pause. Let that sink in. This question is not meant to shame you, it is meant to awaken you, to realize that doing more is not enough. That the invisible agreements you've inherited, expectations of work, loyalty, obligation, are quietly keeping you stuck. Look at your own life. Are your late nights producing assets, or just activity? Are your sacrifices building capital, or feeding old patterns? Are your actions your own, or are they inherited behaviors, repeated unconsciously from the generation before you? Answer honestly, quietly, internally. This reflection anchors the belief flip. Effort without intentional structure is no longer a comfort, it becomes a warning. And the first step toward breaking that pattern is awareness. Here's the reality: most people never ask themselves these questions. They continue their cycle, believing effort equals outcome. But the first millionaire stops. They see the system. They challenge the inherited logic. So ask yourself again, if I continue with the same approach, will I ever create the wealth my family never has? Or am I destined to repeat history? This is the moment where identity begins to shift from survival-driven to builder-conscious, from effort-focused to strategy-focused, from inherited thinking to intentionally designed legacy thinking. Now that you understand the illusion of effort without structure, it's time to act. These steps are not about working harder, they are about reclaiming control, designing your own rules, and breaking inherited patterns. 1. Audit your effort. Take 7 to 10 minutes this week to write down every major activity or sacrifice you are currently making toward money. Are these actions producing measurable capital or only activity? Rank each one, productive versus performative. This simple audit exposes the hidden work cycles that keep you stuck. 2. Map the invisible agreements. Recall the obligations, family expectations, and social rules that dictate how you spend, save, and invest. Write them down. Ask, which of these are truly mine, and which are inherited or automatic. This is the beginning of rewriting your family's financial narrative. 3. Define a minimum structured action. Pick one concrete financial action that builds capital consistently: automated savings, investing, or acquiring an asset. Commit to doing it before responding to social pressure or requests. This small but deliberate act separates the builder mind from the survival mind. 4. Introduce reflection rituals. Each week, spend 15 minutes reflecting on your financial decisions. Ask, was this decision intentional, or was it automatic? Ask, did this action honor my family legacy or merely follow tradition? The ritual turns awareness into habit, reinforcing the belief flip. 5. Anchor with learning. If you haven't already, read The First Millionaire in Your Family while applying these steps. Each chapter provides the full architecture behind the series, giving structure to your reflection and action. The video series primes your identity. The book gives you the blueprint for lasting, godly wealth. These actions are small in effort but monumental in impact. They move you from reaction to design, from inherited patterns to intentional wealth-building behaviors. This is where the journey of understanding becomes a journey of building. Up to this point, you have seen the illusions of effort without structure, the hidden family agreements, and the inherited financial behaviors that shape your reality. You now understand the patterns, but understanding alone does not create lasting wealth. This is where The First Millionaire in Your Family comes in. This book is not a motivational guide, nor is it a set of vague tips. It is the full architecture of financial identity and generational strategy. Every concept we explore in this series has been drawn from its pages. Every framework we dissect, every principle we teach, originates from the blueprint contained in this book. While the episodes provide context, reflection, and identity activation, the book provides the structure, the systems, and the practical steps to take what you learn and turn it into a tangible, generational wealth plan. It teaches you how to identify the invisible agreements that hold families financially captive, rewire your inherited financial identity, install builder thinking before chasing income, build capital that grows predictably and with discipline, protect and multiply your wealth for generations. Reading the book while engaging with the series is essential. Think of the series as the foundation, the structure that primes your mind for transformation. The book is the blueprint, the precise instructions, step by step, on how to actually become the first millionaire in your family. If you follow this approach, you are no longer consuming content passively. You are actively building a new financial lineage, breaking invisible rules, and reclaiming control over your capital, your decisions, and your family legacy. This is not about chasing money. It is about creating a wealth system so powerful that it shapes your bloodline for decades, even centuries. The series awakens the identity. The book ensures the results. Take a moment now. If you don't start reading and applying these principles today, you are letting your inherited financial patterns continue to run your life. This book is your tool. It is your blueprint. And it is why this series exists in the first place. By now, you have begun to see the truth. Working harder does not create wealth. Effort alone, without structure, without the proper frameworks, leads only to repetition of the same financial patterns your family has lived with for generations. You have started to identify the hidden agreements, the unspoken rules, the inherited beliefs that have shaped every decision about money in your life. You have seen the cost of these patterns, how much of your energy, your time, and your potential has been quietly consumed by them. But awareness is only the beginning. Understanding the illusion of effort sets the stage for a deeper revelation. Money is first a psychological system, then a financial system. The external world, the income, the investments, the bank account is merely the reflection of the internal system you carry. This is where episode 4, the day you realize money is psychological, becomes essential. In this next episode, you will begin to uncover how your beliefs about money were installed, how they govern your behavior, and why your mind must change before your wealth can. You will see why the first millionaire does not chase income blindly. They design their mind, their identity, and their behavior first. And again, the book is your blueprint in this transformation. While the series opens your mind and challenges your identity, The First Millionaire in Your Family gives you the full system, exercises, models, and step-by-step guidance to align your beliefs with your actions. If you want to break free from inherited financial limitations, this is where your work becomes deliberate. The series awakens, the book structures. Together, they are your path to becoming the first in your family. So before episode 4, ask yourself, greater than what beliefs am I carrying that are secretly keeping me from the wealth my family has never seen? If you are ready to answer this, to confront these unseen forces, and to begin thinking like the first millionaire, do not miss episode 4. Your transformation depends on it. This channel is not about motivation. It is about transformation. Every video you watch here is one step closer to becoming the first millionaire in your family. Not through luck, not through hype, but through discipline, structure, and long-term thinking. We are building thinkers. We are building investors. We are building legacy creators. And if you stay here long enough, apply what you learn, and study the blueprint inside the first millionaire in your family, you won't just change your income, you'll change your bloodline. So if this video shifted your thinking even a little, subscribe, because this is not just content. This is preparation, and 10 years from now, you'll either look back and say, I started when it was small, or, I wish I did. Choose wisely. I'll see you in the next lesson.